Hello, party people. This is Nicholas Morgan here explaining a very involved and fun, I'm hoping, Ultimate Fantasy Dynasty Fantasy Football League. Something very new. I've never tried this. I don't think anybody else has tried this. So just try to have an open mind. It is, like I said, it is rather complex in some certain areas and maybe a little hard to follow, but like I said, uh, give it an open mind. If you ever have any questions or comments about it, you can always feel free to email me, text me, call me, fax me, whatever you need to do because I'm open for feedback through this. And we'll try to work together to improve this as we go if we can get enough interest. So to start with, our dues, each member of the league will pay $50 in dues for the first year of the league. After that, each year it is up to each team owner to decide how much they want to invest in their team. So, in order to do this, we need a commitment, not just of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, hopefully several years, in order for this to work because it is going to be a dynasty league. And I'll explain now you can keep players or not throughout this process. So, it's not going to be a snake draft, it's going to be an auction draft, which is where each team will have $200 of fake money through ESPN.com's draft auction. And you can spend your $200 how you want to. We'll start with the player. I think it just goes each fantasy team owner gets to pick a player to bid on. And you go in an order. You get to pick the player and you bid in dollar bill amounts how much you want that player on your team. So you can spend as much money on one player or as little money as you want on one player. And then what we will do is how this is going to work. The key concept of this whole league is that each player is assigned a dollar value or a what I refer to it as in here as a salary or a contract amount for each year. So if he's on your team, that's how you make up your dues to the league after the first year is by what players you have on your team and how much money they will be earning. And so that's how that part where after that it's as much as you want to invest in your league or not. So what we'll do is the first year we'll have your roster. Everybody, like I said, will start out with $200 to make it equal the first year, so everybody has a equal chance. An initial investment of $50 of your own money, which will equate to $200 for the fake draft. I want to do $50, but with only 25 roster spots, bidding in dollar increments, that would not work very well. So here is an example of the online fantasy draft and how the contract would be equivalent to the real life money. If Team A has a winning bid on Jamal Charles for $32 in the auction draft through ESPN, his contract amount or salary for the first year would actually be equivalent to $8 in real cash because it will be divided by 4 since our league dues is 50 real dollars. But the fantasy auction draft will be using 200 fantasy dollars. I didn't think you guys would want to put in $200 each to be in this league every year. It's a little steep. And you can see here I put a link on to better understand and with a better explanation of how ESPN administers the auction draft. So you can follow that link. None of the players on your team are guaranteed to be on your team in the second year or any years thereafter unless you extend their contract through arbitration, which I will explain here in a little bit, and then or you re-sign that player through restricted free agency or free agency, which I will also explain that more in the future. Just remember the founding principle of this league is just like in real life, each player has a contract that they get paid, and that makes up the team's payroll. That's how we're going to try and that's how I'm trying to create that same theory principle of this Dynasty Fantasy League. So like I said, from this point on in the league rules, I'll be explaining it in actual cash, not the 200 fake dollars that we're going to start with for the auction draft on ESPN. There will be the following starting positions each week, 9 positions. You can see we have 1 flex position and a total of 16 bench spots and 4 IR spots. And this is equivalent to 25 roster spots. Plus, you'll have the 4 IR spots if someone has to go on IR. This is the maximum amount of IR spots available, and that way you will hopefully not have to release the players. If they end up having a season-ending injury, you can keep them on your team for next year, even if they get tear an ACL or something. Hopefully the large amount of roster spots will cut down on the number of waiver transactions, very similar to the NFL. Obviously, we can still do that, but with 25 guys on your roster, there's not going to be that many people available on waivers. And once again, there are no restrictions on your roster. Other than that, it must be completely filled at the end of the auction. So once again, create a financial level playing field, and then at the end of that first year, it is completely up to you how you want to fill or not fill your roster, and there's no limits on the number of quarterbacks, wide receivers, any position on your roster, and there is no limit on how much you have to spend or can spend on your players. Scoring, we'll use a pretty standard scoring system, no points per reception or rewards for big plays this first year. If we want to do that, we can vote on that. And we will be voting on several things. It's going to be, like I said, this is new. I'm just going to try it out if we can get enough interest. And then we will make changes as we go. However, I am going to up the points for fumbles lost and interceptions. They'll be worth -4 rather than -2 because it seems like in real life and football, turnovers a lot of times are the difference in a game. So that's kind of how I'm trying to do this. So there is the overview of the Fantasy League, the Ultimate Fantasy, the dues, the auction draft, the roster spots, and the scoring. I will make another video to explain arbitration. Hope you're interested. Like I said, give it a shot. Try it with an open mind. Don't be scared because you don't know, because nobody's done this before.